Paul Muller and Drake Sasser. It's Urza outcome. It's Storm. Muller, you see, is 7-1-1. Sasser 8-1. Sasser loves the Storm deck, folks.
And also, I think, it would not surprise me if your matchup against these artifact decks was pretty good. It takes them can take them, their best draws obviously kill very quickly, but they don't interact with creatures that reliably. And all the slow grinding with Thopters is not going to get it done against you.
Yeah.
If Sasser has a turn 2 accelerator here and Muller's turn 3 is Urza, do some stuff. That's just not going to be good. That's not going to be good enough.
Yeah. And it's not like they interact with the Electromancers or the Brawls very well, so this could be a very good matchup here for old Drake Sasser, number 13 on our SCG Tour Player of the Year leaderboard.
Oh, he's got a Remand.
Yeah, it's your kind of card right there.
Oh, my God. Oh, no. No.
Try again.
Try again next turn, if there's a next turn.
Yeah, if there is. Yes.
Oh, that one does not. It feels good to watch. If I was Paul, that would not feel good.
Remand was born.
Remand.
Born to counter 4-mana spells. There's a Fiery Islet.
Players in the 10 a.m. modern challenge. Your bearings for the next round are making their way to the bearings.
All right, there's an Electromancer. Echoing Truth, huh? All right, get that out of here. Head back over to Paul. You can play an Urza if you want. Engineer Explosives. All right, that'll take care of the Electromancer. It's not so bad. They do play a lot of those. Here's a sleight of hand. Drake will take an Opt. He'll play a Serum Visions. He'll draw one, scry 2, consult the grip. See where he wants to put these cards. Split it. And there's a Spire Bluff Canal. Here's Urza. That'll bring a construct along with it here in just a moment. Now there's an Everflowing Chalice for a Saheeli.
All right, well, shields are down. And the thing is, shields might also just be down next turn, too.
A Mox making a servo, and yes, the shields are very much down. The question now, of course, is does Sasser have the ability to go off this turn? It's not cast a Gifts Ungiven yet. Lost to one of his cost reducers, but he has a Metamorphose to start. Paul, someone who's played a lot of Storm in his life.
Looks like he's got a lot of mana to work with and a Gifts.
Yep. Paul's played a lot of Storm, so he's going to help Drake out a little bit here with the old mana counters and widgets. And Drake figuring out exactly where he's supposed to go here, as he appears to be a little unsure. It's time for a Gifts on Give Home. What are our 4 cards here? Grave Shot, Metamorphose, Desperate Ritual, and Pyretic Ritual. The Rituals will go to the graveyard. The Grave Shot and the Metamorphose will go to Drake's hand. We'll be heading back over to Paul, it appears. So Paul has a lot of mana to work with, given that Urza's on the battlefield.
But does he have?
So you can see.
The question is if he has a payoff card that can actually get the game over with this turn. I would guess. You could get a construct to be a 2020 in theory. That's one way, but setting up some value, drawing some cards, and not interacting this turn, he's not going to get a turn after this. So he's whatever the path is, he's got to try to win the game right now.
Do a quick count on the artifacts here.
With that said, welcome to
Looks like that construct is a 7/7 right now. We're going to spin the Urza wheel. See what free card's coming. Engineered Explosives. All right, that'll make another Scion. Here's a beatdown. And that is going to do it because Saheeli is going to make that Astrolabe into a construct. The construct will then count how many artifacts are on the battlefield, just like the other construct does, and that is more than enough to get the job done. So Paul Muller is going to win game number 1 here over Drake Sasser. Urza outcome. Up a game here over the Storm strategy, a deck that Paul knows very, very well. He must feel as though Storm is not particularly well positioned if he's not playing it, which is somewhat notable, I'd say, since Paul does love playing Storm, just like his good friend Caleb Scher does as well. But if there's another player that likes to play Storm, it is Drake Sasser. So a somewhat fun and interesting matchup, to be sure. For Paul and his sideboard, as you already see him working away there, he's got a Ceremonious Rejection, a Disdainful Stroke, 2 Fatal Push, a Mystical Dispute, a Veil Summer, 2 Narset, Parter of Veils, 3 Oko, Thief of Crowns, 2 Collective Brutality, and 2 Thoughtseize.
Well, are you sure? You have the right sideboard up here?
I promise I do.
You do. Wow.
Why is this so surprising to you?
Oh, just the some of the Planeswalker splash I was not anticipating here.
Oh yeah, a lot of them are playing Oko.
Yeah. The Narset I'm into. The Mystical Dispute seems really good here. I don't mind having a couple copies of Fatal Push as well to interact with the accelerators, and the 2 Thoughtseizes are very good.
Okay. Like Narset here. That's for sure. And then for old Sassafras, Drake Sasser, let's see what he's kicking around with here. Got a lot of deck lists to go through here on the old tablet. Well, we'll find you, Drake.
I think I'm on it.
Your Gift Storm deck. I beat
Got
you.
it.
I beat you. 4 Aria Flame, 2 Blood Moon, a Leyline of Sanctity, 2 Abrade, 2 Bolts, 2 Mystical Disputes of his own, and 2 Goblos. Empty the Warrens.
I like the Abrades in this matchup. I like the Mystical Disputes. That's about it. I wouldn't go to Empty the Warrens. They have so many Engineer Explosives, and they often just set it 2-0 to start the game off. So that seems like the wrong way to do it.
Well, that's your options there for both players.
And these Urza Outcome decks typically don't hit the graveyard in such a way that would necessitate Aria Flame.
Game 2 already underway. It's an Ever-Flowing Chalice, a Mishra's Bauble, and now an Emry. We're going to turn over 4 cards, among them a Bauble in the graveyard, along with the Paradoxical Outcome and a couple of lands. So we head back over to Drake, who probably has Remand at the ready, one of Patrick's favorites.
Remand.
Paul's going to take a look at the top card of his deck. Of course, Bauble will leave it on top. Now he'll draw it, the Arkham's Astrolabe. That is a snow-covered island. This is another Astrolabe. Emry will go active, get back the Bauble, play the Bauble, and pass it back over to Drake. But Paul would like to know what he's drawing, and now we do know. This is an opt. Sasser happy with that card, plays a Scalding Tarn, leaving Remand up. You may have caught it in his hand. He does have the temporary counter spell as we head back over to Paul. Paul will play another snow-covered island. Emry's going to get back the Bauble. But you can see why Remand is effective here in this matchup as Paul takes a look at the top card of Drake's deck once again, which is Paul's going to have some difficulty resolving a big spell. There is an Urza that Paul actually fully expects to get countered, and Mystical Dispute will take care of it. So that's going to get placed right into the graveyard.
Yeah, the problem is that you can't even really, slogging through these counter spells, it's not just, okay, well, I can try again next turn. It's, well, if I put the shields down all together, and particularly with Remand giving Sasser an additional card to work with, am I just going to die? But Muller has to try to advance the game a little bit. Just doing this, getting back the Baubles and drawing an extra card a turn isn't going to do anything unless he actually starts pressuring the game somehow.
And there is a
Merchant Scroll.
Merchant Scroll's an oldie but a goodie. Gonna go get gifts on Give On. Paul's gonna try again with a big spell. Remand is gonna take care of Urza this time. Emry's gonna get back a Bauble. Snow-covered island land. Take a look at the top card once again. Manamorphose the draw here for Drake this turn. There is a Manamorphose. Drake will draw a card. Picks up a copy of Desperate Ritual. Another Manamorphose. All right, maybe we get a little something going here. Can we find a cost reducer to maybe go off?
Play some rituals in hand and the gifts. I want to go back to last game where he used the Echoing Truth on the Everflowing Chalice.
Yep.
And then got his Reducer tagged by Engineer Explosives.
Sure.
How different it is if he maybe has the cover of being able to save his own creature and then go off the next turn. Because it looked like he was bottlenecked on mana ultimately. A Reducer would have made that hand, I think, very smooth to go off with.
We'll see what comes next here for Paul. He's been trying to resolve a big spell for the entire game. It looks like Drake may have another remand. He's going to search up an island here. Player's making sure everything looks the way that it's supposed to before moving forward. And there is another remand.
Brutal.
Well, now it'll be a Narset.
That might have been the prize that Paul actually wanted to sneak through here. Because it is really problematic for Storm to try to go off in the face of that card.
Disdainful Stroke is the find off of Narset. Now, Paul does have a ton of stuff out there on the battlefield, but I think one thing he's lacking right now is actually untapped mana to be able to cast Disdainful Stroke. So, if Drake just has a ton of rituals, obviously Gifts Ungiven doesn't draw any cards. It adds cards to your hand. He has a cost reducer. Maybe it finds access to Passing Flames. He can still do this.
Yeah, it gets a lot trickier. I mean, his hand's just mana, which is helpful. If it was cantrips, he'd be totally bottlenecked.
Pyretic Ritual. Storm of 2. Pyretic Ritual. Gifts Ungiven. 2 floating. 3, 4. Keep in mind, he does have a Grape Shot in his hand. See exactly what he wants to get here. Even he's a little unsure in this spot. You see the hand there of Grape Shot and Desperate Ritual. I think Passing Flames has to be involved somehow.
Open players, that is time in the round. If it's your turn, finish your turn. You have 5 additional turns.
You see a Baral, a Passing Flames, a Desperate Ritual, and a Pyretic Ritual here for Drake.
Yeah, I mean, no reason to get any sort of card drawing, so just mana is the only thing he can really work with here.
Paul figure out exactly how he wants to split this up. Might just give Drake more mana. Might rearrange things entirely. All right, he'll give him more mana. Pyretic Ritual is going to bring him up to 3. Desperate Rituals with the Splice up to 6. Let's actually make it 7. And now we can kick back past in Flames. Cast a bunch of rituals now, Will Drake. His storm count is getting very, very, very high. And we might actually be in the space where we can go Grape Shot, Remand, Grape Shot again.
Or gifts for another Grape Shot or whatever. Yeah, you have a ways to do it from
now,
here.
It is worth noting again that he can't draw any cards at this point, but that doesn't matter. Drake's going to win game number 2 here over Paul Muller. Storm, there's an outcome all tied up. Getting ready here for game number 3.
Yeah, Drake's hand was situated about as well as possible for going off through Narset. No cantrips, just mana and Gifts Ungiven. Makes it pretty easy.
So these players get ready for their third and final game. Paul, again, sitting at 7-1-1 with Urza Outcome here this week. And Urza Outcome is a deck that does have Paradoxical Outcome as a bit of a value engine. Can sometimes get you very deep into your deck to combo off accordingly because they do have a Nexus of Faith that they have access to. And then for Drake, well, we just saw exactly what his deck does. Its goal is to cast a Grape Shot for a bunch, and he was able to do that in that second game. So they head to a third one here. This will be the final match that we do bring you. Again, do keep in mind, Ryan Overturf, Todd Anderson, they are headed to the booth here for the next 2 rounds. They'll bring you round 11 and 12 before Patrick and I bring you rounds number 13 and 14. Ryan and Todd will cap you off round 15. Watch players playing to make top 8. as well as the quarterfinals. You'll get to vote on those quarterfinals at home, of course. And then Patrick and I will bring you the semis and the finals and wrap it up and see who's going to qualify for a Players Tour, as well as our Invitational, and walk out of here with $5,000 and 30 SCG points. Paul Muller will be on the play this game. We'll see just how good this Urza outcome deck can be against Storm. You can see, Patrick, it does have a real issue with the card Remand.
Oh yeah, it is walking right into that, committing a lot of mana on the main phase. And, you know, it's like a full shields down moment.
I don't know how well positioned Remand is in this format, but it seems at the very least to be well positioned in this matchup.
Well, I think you want the problem is that any of their marquee spells resolving is going to be game over even if they're turn off in a lot of spots. So it's not enough to just remand to buy time. You need to remand to give yourself a window to end the game, and that's where, you know, Storm comes in.
Well, we'll see if Paul can find a hand that he's happier with, as Drake appears to be pleased, and Paul's going to be sending another one back.
Modern Classic player, Paul Boyd.
We'll see if he can find a better hand to work with here. Of course, we're operating underneath the London Mulligan rule. Two cards are going to be going back.
Magic player, Josh Wood.
There's Snow-Covered Island and an Arkham's Astrolabe. Steam Vent's going to end the battlefield tapped here for Drake. We head back over to Paul. Prismatic Vista simply passing the turn back over to Drake, who's going to play Goblin Electromancer, put Paul to the test right away. On a mulligan to 5, it's a little bit easier to just play this card. You're not really all that scared of what your opponent may do. I'm saying, if you don't kill this, I'm going to kill you.
And it's not the easiest thing for outcome to kill. And I think Drake has been pretty aggressive of just assuming that Paul doesn't have interaction, because these lists typically don't.
Here is 3 mana. That'll be a Sai. Here's a Mox Opal. That'll bring a Thopter along with it. And just a passing of the turn. Now, of course, that Mox Opal does mean there's a lot of mana available. Here's a couple of Pyretic Rituals, and yeah, we're done.
Yep.
We're done. Paul's got nothing in hand. Astrolabe, Urza, game over. He knows it. He's played plenty of Storm. He knows exactly where things do go from there. There'll be a grip shot for lethal at some point, and Paul going to save everybody a little bit of time.